Review from MBE on this Friday night. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream. I'm one of your co-hosts, Stephen John McLaughlin, the other co-host John C. Walsh, and our very special guest and good friend Ruth Aaron joins us for our movie review of 96, starring the great Vijay Sethupathi.
And Trisha.
Yeah, and Trisha. Yeah. John will get into the cast later on. Fantastic cast. And this film is directed by C. Prem Kumar and gets an 8.6 out of 10 rating on IMDb, which I think is justified. Could be a little bit higher, perhaps, but I don't want to give the game away about ratings at the moment. But I am going to pass it over to John now, who's going to take us through this review experience and of course give you a lowdown on obviously ratings. How we rate these movies.
It's like the same old thing, Stephen. It's like Groundhog Day. I just say the same thing every week when we review movies. F is terrible. Think of The Fanatic from John Travolta and Phoenix Forgotten, a horrendous found footage film that nobody has to watch ever. Completely unnecessary addition to your life. D- Ruth Plus is average. It's an average watch. It's not horrendous, but as you get to the bottom of average, it really is getting to poor. C- Ruth Plus is a good watch. It's a good movie. A lot of MCU movies and stuff like that will slide in here, Ant-Man and things like that. Then you get B- Ruth Plus, an excellent movie, really up there, as I keep saying every week, my all-time favourite movie. Cool Hand Luke slides into this tier, if you like, but it's not quite perfection. To get to A, you have to be perfection, and I think of movies like The Godfather, Shawshank Redemption, Apocalypse Now. You know what I mean? The sort of typical movies that people speak about when they think of perfection in movies. I'm sure Ruth will get some ideas of perfect Indian movies, and I have to tell you, as we get to the end of this review, that there may be another addition to perfect, but we'll see how we go on as we actually review the movie. I may change my mind, I may go up, I may go down, depends on how the conversation goes. But look, man, getting into this actual review, the guideline breakdown of the grading setup I've done, yada yada yada. Stephen, I didn't know that. Well, I did know this movie existed prior to also Ruth putting it on the list. We spoke about it, I think, Ruth as well, perhaps 2 weeks back. I think I seen Jabby Coy was doing a reaction review of it, and I'm like, what is this? It's Vijay Sethupathi. Of course, we've watched numerous Vijay Sethupathi movies, and I was intrigued right away by his inclusion. I was completely unaware of how good the other performances would be in this movie, though. I was really getting in for Vijay Sethupathi. I was excited for this movie getting in. I didn't know what to expect other than it was a romantic movie, as you did say, Ruth. What I didn't expect was the sort of drama underneath as well. It's something that's not really done a lot in Western cinema. You usually have rom-coms. There's not usually that mix of drama unless you go to a Pride and Prejudice or something like that. It's like, painted by numbers, period. Jane Austen romantic movie. What was your thoughts? I don't know who wants to go first. You can jump ahead. You want to go first, Ruth? What was your thoughts? Your experience with this movie, maybe the first time you seen it, you were getting in to see it. Were you aware of this? When did you first see this movie? And what was your thoughts maybe getting in, if you can remember?
I was a bit late coming into watching this movie. It had already released. I didn't know about it. For some reason, it was a busy period in my life at the time, so I didn't really notice that it had come out. And then I heard people talking about the movie. And then when I found out that Trisha was acting in it, I really wanted to watch it because she's been one of my all-time favorite actresses. And then when I heard that Vijay Sethupathi was acting, I was thinking, a romantic movie with Vijay Sethupathi and Trisha, how would that work out? I was very curious, so that's when I gave it a watch. And I was so, it's like, saying I was pleasantly surprised is to put it mildly. It was a phenomenal experience for me. Yeah.
Stephen, what was your thoughts going into this movie? Did you have any expectations? Were you aware of it as I was, thanks to Jabby Coy, and then also the conversations with Ruth? What was your mindset going into this movie before we actually get into the story itself, the movie?
I didn't know too much about it, guys. I think the first indication, obviously with Ruth giving us a choice of 5, we put the poll out there to the community, and I mentioned this on Wednesday night. It's the most responded poll that we've put out, and I think it's because of who is starring in those 5 films, Vijay Sethupathi. And when 96 was the sort of landslide victor in that poll, it really intrigued me to see how good this movie was, thanks to the community as well, who kind of filled us in. I think they showed a bit of concern on whether or not we would like this movie or not, because we've been mostly doing action movies and thrillers, that kind of thing. But I was under no illusion, in terms of performance-wise for the main actor Vijay Sethupathi, from what we've seen him in the likes of Master, Super Deluxe, and and I think I was just intrigued to see how he'd handle this genre, because we've not really seen him do that yet. But what surprised me even more was the other cast members. I don't know, are they supporting cast? I would say so, probably. Trisha Krishnan for me was on par with Vijay Sethupathi. I did ask Ruth prior to us going live if we have seen her in any other films, because I couldn't remember, but I did recognise her face. I was put right, thanks Ruth, that we have reacted to some musical numbers that Trisha did appear in. So I knew the face, and I was more intrigued to see how she would perform in this, and wow, what an actor.
Absolutely, Stephen. Well, that's my takeaways getting into this movie as well. Didn't know much about her. Obviously, we have reacted to a song she's been involved in. It really has been Samantha. And is it Arjawal? What's her first name? Arjawal. The actress.
Kajal Agarwal.
Yeah. We've seen obviously her as well. So they've been the main two that we've primarily been watching in terms of female actors over also the telepathy movies. Didn't know a huge amount about her, but much like yourself, and also Ruth, who went in, she was obviously, you were aware of this actor in, and that's probably what drawn you to the movie, maybe less so than Vijay Sethupathi, but her performance was incredible. But look, we will get into the actual performances at some point later on in this review, man. The story, thoughts on the writing, the character development, the way it ebbed and flowed, any themes explored, and the ending. Who wants to go first in this one, man? I'll let someone else go first, and then I'll share my thoughts, because I tend to speak for like 10 minutes and overpower everybody else in the conversation. So what is your thoughts? I'll let you go first, Steve. What was your thoughts on the writing in this story, the way the characters were developed, and the way it ebbed and flowed? Because, Stephen, of course, there was flashbacks in this movie, which really excellently developed the relationship with the audience and these two characters, these lovebirds in school.
Yeah.
What did you make about the development and the writing and just the way it flowed?
John, I thought the writing invested well in the characters in this movie. We talked about it yesterday in terms of Vijay Sethupathi's character, when he is mentioning moments in their lives where he knows exactly what Janu was doing in moments of her life, whether it be in college or our wedding, etc. Now, a bad writer would have came off portraying Rama as a very creepy kind of guy, but not in this case. Because of the writing and the development in those characters, you actually felt for this guy. You actually could sympathise, and you understood where he was coming from, and that's all down to the writing. I felt the writer really homed in the characters in this film, developed them at a steady pace as well, and the film came in just over 2.5 hours as well. I thought that was spot on. We talk about editing all the time, about maybe they can cut scenes here and there, etc., and maybe some things are just drawn out a little bit. Not in the case of this film. I felt the story flowed really well. I think it was the right running time for this movie
2.5 hours,
because of the story was very intriguing, and I think they gave it enough time without dragging it all out. But at the same time, they gave it enough time for you to understand these characters, and I thought the writing, I think it was actually director C. Prem Kumar who wrote the story as well. So.
And also, Ruth says before we came on, I wasn't aware of this, it was his first movie he ever directed, which is astonishing.
Fantastic.
To put a movie of this calibre out in your first attempt is absolutely incredible.
Some great shots in there.
Unbelievable shots, I'm sure we'll get into that as well. The ending as well, I thought the ending was perfect. We spoke about that, Ruth and Stephen, also before the actual review, before we went live. They had to get that ending perfect. Yeah. If she had maybe came back, spoiler alert if you've not seen this movie incidentally, it's not the traditional romantic film where the actual love interest comes running back and it's a happy ever after. They handled that ending perfectly, man. The fact that she's got a life established in Singapore and she just can't throw it all away to come and live happily ever after in Chennai. With obviously, it is in Chennai, isn't it? He was in Madras. Yeah, he was staying in Chennai. John, they can't come back. She can't throw a life away. That's perfect.
You're absolutely right about the ending, because there is two other ways that normally goes, and one is the happy ever after ending, or the other ending is one of them dies, i.e. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with Chow Yun-fat and Michelle Yeoh, where it was that unspoken love they never did anything about, and obviously they lived their lives out different ways, and then he dies. You know, you talk about La La Land as well, John. There's elements of these storylines within this film. But you're absolutely right about the ending. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, Ruth, what was your thoughts on the ending and the story in general? I know we spoke about La La Land, you've seen it. I love that movie, incidentally. I'm not a huge musical fan. Something about that movie was just perfect. It was, I can't recall his name, incidentally. Damien Chazelle. It was Damien Chazelle, yeah. There you go. The brain works sometimes. That ending, where it's almost an alternate reality of what would have happened if, I forget her name, Seb and the other one get together. If they'd actually got together and lived.
Yeah.
Mia, I thought it was Mia. I was about to say Mia, and I thought, no, it's not Mia. Mia and Seb, if they'd got back together and lived their lives happily ever after, they create this alternate reality. And obviously that does happen at one point in this movie, near the end. What was your thoughts on the ending? Did you think it was handled perfectly, or would you have liked to have seen a situation where Janu came back to Ram and they lived happily ever after? What was your thoughts on the story as well, man? The writing, the way it developed, characters and ebbed and flowed. Do you have any particular thoughts on that?
Yeah, apparently...
Oh, have we lost Ruth? We may have to be right back. We have got to be right back. I may have to go to me though and be right back. No, that's not it. Be right back. We'll mute it.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He wrote it within that time.
We lost you for about 10 seconds there. The connection went haywire. I don't know if you want to just fire back in, repeat what you says, because we couldn't hear you and we want to hear your insight.
Yeah. So apparently C. Prem Kumar, he had written the story in about 20 days.
That's unbelievable.
When he was stuck in his apartment during the Chennai floods. So that's what he said, that, in an interview, that he had written it in about 20 days or so. And I thought it was an exceptional piece of writing because not only did he give enough, he very well developed plot for both the characters, and not only both the characters, but even all the other characters as well. He wrote it really well. Mm. And I love the ending because as much as the romantic in me would have loved her to chuck her life and, just run off with him or whatever, it was a realistic outlook. Mm-hmm. In real life, that's what, it's as much as you can love someone, but that alone is never enough. Sometimes you need to consider the fact that there are other people in your lives that you can't let down. Yep. And in this sense, she had a daughter who she owed her, she owed a responsibility to take care and not to, cause any sort of upheaval. And also, the husband seemed like a perfectly nice guy, and I like the fact that they wrote him as a nice guy as well. Yeah. The fact that he's such a nice guy, and there might not have been romance in the relationship, but I'm sure there was a mutual respect and understanding. Mm-hmm. And he had made a good life for her. Yeah. So, I like the fact that they honored that in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, man, I loved the story. I thought it was exceptionally written. And just again, the way they utilised flashbacks, it worked more so in this than I think any other movie, and it worked well in other movies, like Bahubali, for instance, completely different genre. Utilised a flashback for nearly an entire movie's running time. But the way that they really bonded, I thought it was absolutely necessary that you were bonded to the Janu and Ram character from the get-go. And the way that he did that, because obviously they hadn't seen themselves in 22 years, and the way this movie's structured, it's a reunion. They meet themselves, they meet each other at, and that's about halfway into the movie. And I know that because I actually went back and watched the reunion moment again, because it's actually my favourite moment in the movie, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. But the way that they utilise the flashbacks to really bond you to these two characters, to their relationship, that sort of cat and mouse chemistry, crush they've got in each other, and the way that then manifests itself in the current day and when they actually meet themselves again, I just thought that was such a cool piece of writing from the actual director, co-writer, stroke writer I should say. And the characters were really well developed for me. The way that they developed the Ram character when he was younger to this sort of grisly loner that we see in the very first 5 minutes of this movie, when it's that song, he's I think a travel photographer. That in itself, in the first 5 minutes, you don't realise until you get about 2 hours into the movie and you actually look back just how well written that is, and the way they've developed him within the very beginning of this movie. And again, there is little moments like that throughout this story for me, where you have little callbacks, something you've watched and you've not thought anything about, and then an hour and a half later you think, oh right, that's what they were doing there. And the moment that stands out for me with that is when Ram goes back to the school and he comes into the classroom, he sits down at the front, I think, and then he moves to the back, and you're like, what's he doing? When you see the flashbacks, you realise that's where Janu sat when he was in the class, and he goes to his seat. And then there's a lovely little bit of symmetry later in the movie via a flashback, but we'll get into that. I'm going off on tangents. I thought the story was perfectly written, the character development was there. Much like yours, I don't think we could have done much with the running time. I think at 2 hours 35, I think it was. Probably a little less with the credits and stuff. Perfect length of movie. I wouldn't have cut anything out of this. It was necessary to have that time with them at the end where it felt like time slowed down. They had that one night together before she had to go back to Singapore. That was just perfectly handled. It felt like it went on forever, and I think that was a manifestation of those two actual people in this movie. They wanted it to go on forever, they didn't want to actually split up. So for me, the story was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. The ending was perfect, as I said, without repeat myself too much. Just like that, I like that gritty realism. That's real life, as you did say, Ruth. The reality is people miss opportunities in their life and you can't take it back every time. And I thought that was perfectly manifested in the story. But look, man, standout moments, favourite scenes and sequences, as ever. I've got a paragraph, an essay of standout moments, because I just sit and write down things when I'm watching movies, when I'm in the house. And thankfully I've got a good enough memory that when I'm in the theatre, I can also do that. Right from the start, love the flute sort of score. I love the score in this movie, period. Yeah. It was like a fluty score at the beginning. It was a wide shot of the city from the water. I thought that's a brilliant way to start. And the song, I actually searched it up. I searched up VG Cinematography because I wasn't sure if he was singing. It sounded close enough to his voice that he could have been singing. I doubt he was, because he doesn't strike me as a guy that sings. But I loved that song, the way that it broke down this guy's current day situation. He's travelling, he's on his lonesome. He seems to be quite content. And Stephen, as you says as well, before we actually come on and he even spoke to Ruth, setting up, you know, he seemed to be this confident, assured figure in the classroom.
Yeah. With
the young students and stuff like that. He was guiding them. He was this assured figure that had a life experience. So the way they set this character up in the first 5-10 minutes, I thought was absolutely sublime. If you get any standout moments, Stephen, if you get any standout moment, The Life of Ram was the song, incidentally. The Life of Ram song was brilliant, I said. And I says it sounded like his voice, but I doubt it. Because he doesn't strike me as a guy that sings to me. Yeah. I don't know, he's not telepathy.
I don't know, John, because in Master I didn't think he was the kind of guy that would strike me who would dance, and he did.
That was a good
very good dancer. But yeah, I mean, I think the standout moment for me probably was the 3 versions of events.
Yeah,
I loved that. I've seen that so many times, and you talked about La La Land there. Also, The Last Jedi. I'm going off on a tangent, but they did that thing where it's interpreted from a different point of view, and we see the first version being from. I think it's from Rams. It's from Rams. Yeah, it's his point of view, and then we get to see Janu, who swears on her life she'd never saw him.
And then we get to see the alternate reality where she did see him.
To the students, and it's just great the way it's set up, because it's giving you an indication that final version of events, which never happened, was the version that they both wanted so much in their lives at that point.
Ruth, if you get any standout moments, because I could go on forever as ever, so I want to let people in and give their. Just use it. Fire into as many.
First of all, I really love the music, because I think it was a character in itself. I think the music in it, the music was beautifully put together. Govind Vasantha was the music director, and he sang a lot of the songs. But The Life of Ram was sung by Pradeep Kumar. If you're wondering who sang it.
I knew it wasn't VG
Cinematography. No, it wasn't. And it was Govind Vasantha also not only did the music direction, he did the album, but he also did the he also sang some of the songs as well. And he's a fantastic violinist as well, because the violin movements and all that done by him. He's part of one of the founders of a band called Thaikudam Bridge.
Oh yeah.
And they produce they put out some really lovely music, and they're very popular in India. So that's on a side note. But I really loved, there were so many moments. I loved the reunion piece, but I loved the moments they spent in the car. Those moments were, especially the last part when they're going to the airport, and I love the scene where she puts her hands on the gear stick and then he puts his hands over us. I really those were like a few of those really standout moments, And I also I really enjoyed a lot of the flashbacks as well, because I thought those young actors, they did such a phenomenal job, and
Almost stole the show. Almost stole the show for me.
exactly, yeah.
I thought they were incredible.
And so fantastic. Everyone did their roles like really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, my stand-up moments were the ones in the car, and I think the one where she runs, like when that moment when he tells her that he was actually there.
Yeah, the wedding.
And then she runs from the car,
Yeah.
and she just like runs
Yeah.
upstairs, and that scene in the bathroom, that was a
That was
fantastic.
brilliant. Yeah.
It just like, I think that was the moment I just like completely cracked and I couldn't.
Listen, I tell you,
I did so much of crying during this movie. It's no joke.
I'm not going to lie, man. I had some moments where I was nearly going, because I when I watch movies, I do connect with the characters. I become enveloped in the world, and you're rooting for the characters to, whatever they're doing in a movie. If it's an action movie, succeed. If it's a romantic movie, get what they want. So there was moments in this movie where I was close. Obviously the piano, you mentioned the score. I thought the score was absolutely sublime. And again, when Ram visits his old school, there's a piano sort of harp kind of number, and it was like an Indian flute. I don't know if there's a name for that instrument, incidentally. It's like a kind of Indian flute. Just unbelievable score. It perfectly.
And Trisha's voice, the girl that sang the songs for Trisha would be Chinmay. She said she did such an amazing job as well.
Yeah.
And she also did the voiceover, because sometimes in Tamil movies, some of the actresses, they may not come from Tamil side completely, but they act in the Tamil, so they will act in the movie and they will speak the words. Because they are speaking the actual Tamil words. But then sometimes if the pronunciation may not be completely the way, so they will do a kind of a voiceover.
Yeah.
And this time the director made sure that he got the singer who sings the song to also do the voiceover for Trisha and Chinmay. So that's why it was so naturally done. It's like as if it's her voice, because it's the same voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the singing was brilliant from the Janu character. I thought her singing was incredible. And another little standout moment, Ram was trying to get her to sing this song. It's something, I'll try and if I wrote it down, something River. He was trying to get her to sing the song throughout the entire movie, but he wouldn't directly ask her. And then the moment in the apartment when she starts singing, when the lights go down, I thought that was incredible. He finally gets that moment. And she sung it beautifully, I have to say, the singer, absolutely incredible. That
song is actually very reminiscent, because every time you ask her to sing the song, that song comes from another movie, the movie Telepathy. Yeah. And in that one, the song, it's ironic because the girl who sings the song in that movie also doesn't end up with the guy she's in love with, that she's singing the song about,
That's almost been thought out, I think.
The very fact that, it's about unrequited love kind of, a situation. And it's amazing that he keeps asking her for that one song.
Yeah. And
she refuses to sing it, and that song is reminiscent of the fact that you don't end up with the person that you're singing the song about.
That's brilliant. Again, that's another little detail. I would never have known that. That's why it's brilliant to have you on, Ruth, because you've got insight.
The song is based on the deity, the love between a devotee of the deity Krishna and the love that she has for him, and the fact that she also doesn't end up she's like, it's about her waiting for him, and the song, it's like one of those epic love stories that are in the what do you call that, the Indian mythology and religious line and that kind of thing. So
and he had a lot of religious sort of stuff, didn't he? Had in his apartment.
So there was a lot. Yeah, he did, because I think the director wanted it to be his apartment to reflect his life, in the sense that it's all this old antique things that are there. So it's very reminiscent of the fact that he is stuck in that,
in the past,
in that era.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's a theme throughout the movie. Obviously has a briefcase with all of her belongings, the shirt that she splashes ink on the bridge. That's another moment, incidentally, with the call back. A little moment at the beginning of the movie. I think his student's taking him to the city, and he looks at the bridge and he says, "Oh," and then he stops himself. Then we see that moment between them. That's the closest they got, really, out with obviously the moment in the car at the end of the movie. Great little callback moments. I love it when they do that. For me, man, Bagavafi Perumal was in this as well. He played Berlin in Super Deluxe. Totally different character. Incidentally, he was an absolute bastard, for lack of a better word, in Super Deluxe. In this, he was brilliant as a sort of friend of Ram, who's orchestrating everything, phoning up Janu, trying to get her to come to the reunion and stuff. Thought he was really good in it. That was a standout. The WhatsApp conversations as well. I thought that was brilliant. I've not seen that done since Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock. You've got the messages coming down the screen. I thought that was really well done, I should say. And then obviously for me, I spoke about this, man, my standout moment in the entire movie was the reunion. When she comes, she sits at the table, she's unaware that Ram's there. He's kind of hiding round at the bouncy castle or something, basically crapping himself. Love the fact he punches his little friend, incidentally. He comes over to get him at the table. He just punches him. And he says to, I think, his sister, yeah, I'm not calling him again. If I do, he'll punch me. You better go and do it. And just that moment where the sister notifies Janu that Ram's here, and this quick zoom to her face, all sounds, all music just ceases, and you see that look in her face as if I need to go and see him. I thought that was the standout moment in the entire movie for me. Such a small little moment, but it showed that these two characters, it was reciprocal. She loved him every bit as much as he loved her. And it's just that unfinished business. Obviously he was transferred to another city. They never got to act it out. If you'd like. Other little moments, man. I loved the little school sort of back and forth crush moments, the flashbacks. Not going to lie, man. I think just about everybody in this planet it's living, it's had the little moments like that when they went to school where you've got a little thing for somebody and you've got the cut of glances back and forth. So we've all experienced that, and I thought that was perfectly recreated in this movie as well. Just little details like that, as she says, Ruth, it's rooted in reality. It's gritty, it's real, and just even little moments, quiet moments, furtive glances in the classroom and stuff like that, just perfectly handled. And I thought that was brilliant. He's also lived and breathed this, the director as well. He knows what he's doing. And then obviously, man, the end sequence, just that extended end sequence where they're sharing all that time together in the hotel room. I think they get back to his apartment, they end up going to the coffee shop. The moment where the students come in and she basically tells that alternate reality, says that they're married and stuff. Thought that was such a brilliant moment. There's so many moments in this, man, as she says. The car, the moment where she puts her hand on the gear stick. That's the first time they actually touch each other in the entire movie, and it's the only time I think they touch each other in the entire movie. And just this concept of her trying to get the best of him. She's trying to get him a partner. She knows she can't stay there and be with him, so she's doing her best to look after him. I think the student says to her, he's a great man, look after him. And she says, I know you're a great man, but how can I look after you? She's trying to help him out, but he's set in his ways. And look, we spoke about that before we came on as well, man. I love these kind of endings in these movies where you can almost make up what happens afterwards, where you can create an existence for Ram where he actually does go on to live happily ever after. Because certainly at the end of this movie, he's in a dark place. He's moved on, I think, mentally. He's put a clothes in the briefcase, but he's still on his own, and his love's obviously left him. But there's just so many little moments in the airport, man, but he's basically saying, look, you need to go, I'll buy a ticket and I'll stay with you till the plane goes. There was a realisation with the two of them that they couldn't stay together. For me, man, there was so many standout moments. Listen, I really enjoyed the movie, man. As I said many times, I'm not a huge romantic sort of film fan, but this one was handled so well, man. The characters were so well thought out and put onto the screen that you just simply couldn't help but connect to their plight, to their story. And then when it all came to fruition at the end, you were genuinely sad for Ram. But I loved it, man. I loved the ending, the fact that it wasn't the sort of traditional romantic run into my arms ending, as I said before. But look, man, that's going to round up standout moments. I don't think there's any more, is there? I've not got any more anyway. I could speak all day. There's so many, and I've got an illness when it comes to watching movies. I pick out every detail. Performances. What was your stand? Now this is going to be difficult for me, man. I tell you, I'll probably get it out of the way first before I pass it on to you. Performance. Obviously, VJ Sephipafi's unreal. Every movie I've seen this guy in, he plays a completely different role. He's a stupendous actor. I was actually talking about him the other day before I even watched this movie, incidentally, and I was waxing lyrical about the guy's ability and just how good an actor he is. But Trisha was incredible. Trisha Krishnan was absolutely phenomenal. And the way they get the likeness with Gauri Krishnan and Trisha Krishnan, bang on. She looked like a younger version of herself. And also Adifa Bhaskar looked like a younger version of Ram. I thought it was great acting across the board, but for me it's got to be VJ Sephipafi and Trisha. Neck and neck. I can't pick a standout. And then below that probably Gauri Krishnan and Adifa Bhaskar. Have you got any standout performances you want to share?
I think VJ Sephipafi for me and Trisha Krishnan, purely on the basis that those iterations of the characters, the present day version of the characters, they had the most emotional scenes for me. I felt the execution at the very end, there was some closure for the audience with those versions of the characters for me. So I felt Vijay Sethupathi and Trisha Krishnan handled those situations very delicately. And you talk about that bathroom scene. I actually forgot about that, Ruth.
Yeah.
I was absolutely choked up with that scene because it was so sad and tragic.
Yeah.
And I just felt both actors in that scene alone just hit the ball out of the park. Really impactful moment. But that's not to say, I don't want to say they're supporting cast, because I don't think they are the younger versions. I felt they handled those characters as well. They had to do the sort of early character building for these characters, in those crucial moments of the story that you can relate to in the present.
Yeah,
and I felt both of them did it perfectly. You talk about likeness, John, you're absolutely right. I thought Gauri Kishan resembled Trisha very well in this film, and is it Aditya Bhaskar? I felt he was very,
especially when
awkward.
Older Ram takes his beard off.
I just John, we'll talk about that as well.
He looked like him.
See when Vijay Sethupathi had the haircut and the shave, I can't believe the transformation in this guy. He looked about 10 years younger, and it doesn't look that old to begin with the beard. I think he's got a great head of hair. He's got a really thick beard, looks very suave. When he had that shave and he had that haircut, he just looked 10 years younger. And there was I don't know, there was a bit of a swagger with him at points as well, but there was a bit of vulnerability as well. I noticed when he was sort of she asked him the question about obviously virginity, and I just felt Vijay Sethupathi handled that so sweetly. I just felt he was so sweet in that scene, just the way he acted and the way she responded as well, and a great maturity between both actors as well in that scene.
I'm getting shy or something, he says, doesn't he?
Yeah, just the whole honesty, and I felt that's why Vijay Sethupathi and Trisha Krishnan for me is probably the standouts, just slightly above the younger versions of themselves. I felt absolutely on par with each other.
Hey Ruth, what's your standout performer? Have you got one? Or standout performances in this movie?
I think they all performed really well. The younger version, the actors were fantastic, both the girl and the boy. It's like they did such a really, really good job.
Yeah.
And of course, I absolutely love Trisha. There's nothing I can say about her. That she is constantly, from the time she started acting, she has steadily continued to surprise me. Until if you watch more of her movies, given time, you will actually see the natural progression of where she started and then how much she's grown. But I think for me, it was Vijay Sethupathi again. He's just amazing. He's such a versatile actor. He's so natural and believable. You really feel for his character a lot. I think the one thing that he portrayed that I really loved was the fact that the reason why he was, any other guy who's so much in love with her the way he was, he would have definitely gone back and tried again or something like that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think he didn't is that together with the love, he had a kind of a hero worship.
Yeah.
He was in awe of her.
Yeah.
He always felt
moment.
that she was too good for him, and I think that's what held him back.
Which is
why he was so insecure. And he just like that one rejection or one perceived rejection that he thought she didn't want to see him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to bother her anymore, but he was persistent in like being almost like a stalker. Like going and tracing all of her activities and stuff. But at the end of the day, right, it's that hero worship, that putting her on a pedestal, that awe that kept him away from fully going after her again and trying again until he got her. And I think that's what held him back.
Yeah.
If under normal circumstance, if somebody is in love with a person, then that love alone will compel you to try again.
Yeah.
So
actually,
I thought he really did it such a fantastic job at portraying all of that. And it's like this small movements like in the car when, it's like when he puts his hand over her, it's just his body just moves just the slightest bit, where you can see there's a kind of a confidence that he's the man, that kind of thing, that kind of, it's like he's driving and all the way until he goes to the airport and makes the decision, I'll come with you I'll wait with you until you leave, and that kind of thing. All that gives you a glimpse of what kind of man he would have been, what kind of a protector, a partner in life he would have been. He would have been a completely equal partner to her had it worked out.
And you see that?
So it just gives you just a moment of it.
He opens the doors up and stuff like that. He's completely chivalrous.
Yeah,
throughout the entire movie.
He's completely changed.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
From that shy, a boy that that shy, like boy man kind of thing in the beginning of the movie, and then finally the transition until then. How much of comfort he has talking to her, and there's a sense of growth in the character within the story itself. So he's such a strong force by the end of it, very determined about his life and that kind of thing. So I loved the entire progression. I think he did such an amazing job with the character. He was very respectful of the character, and he did and I loved one of the scenes that I really loved was the part where he's lying just before he lies down on the floor, and she's lying on the bed and she's fallen asleep, and he just kind of he takes like that and he does it. Indians do that. It's a kind of like a warding off evil eye kind of thing, where if he's worried that even his eye his envy of how pretty and beautiful she is, that he doesn't want it to affect her, so he does that to kind of ward off his own evil eye. And the fact that he touches the tali that she wears around the neck, that's the marriage symbol for Indians, and he just kind of touches it and he puts it on, it's like that sign of respect that he has for that. Like, it doesn't matter as long as you're happy. And I think that's what's beautiful about it in this day and age, when you have people who would do anything for their love to work out selfishly. Here is a man who understands the essence of love, that true love means that you just want the other person to be happy, and as long as that's there, you are happy. Just
I don't know if I've lost Ruth. We'll just we'll go again to me and we'll just be right back. We'd lost you momentarily there again, Ruth, but I just let it stay in the actual try screen. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right, man. That's why he's the most compelling character in the actual movie for me. Because he does go through that journey where he goes from this sort of shy teenage figure.
He constantly surprises me each time, I just when I think there's no role he can do, he just suddenly throws a curveball, and then he just does it again.
And that's why
completely hit it out of the park.
That's why I can't understand people saying he plays the same performance time and again, or the same character. Every single movie I've seen this guy in, he's been a totally different character.
Especially in this one, I think,
totally different
because
performance.
in the previous movies that we have seen him in, he plays different characters, but in this one, he plays a character that develops from a completely different character, if you like, throughout the movie, as you mentioned. And I felt that, just throughout that journey, I think we were all there with him. We were all there rooting for him. We all wanted him to have that happy ending. But I'm glad the way it ended.
Stephen, so was I, because as we said previously, that's the most realistic depiction of the way something would happen in a scenario like that. Technical stuff though, cinematography, score, editing. We already kind of spoke about the editing. There's not much I'd have changed in this movie. I think it was pretty well put together. The score I really enjoyed, as I said. There's lots of different elements to the score. The singing, lots of really good moments in here that just perfectly framed situations and enhanced it. Because I say it time and again, you take music out of a movie, it's nothing. The music enhances what's there, and a good composer will not try to overshadow or overimpose themselves onto the actual stuff happening on the screen. They're subtle with it. That's why the likes of John Williams is an absolute genius, and I thought that was palpable in this movie. Cinematography I thought was fantastic. Again, I spoke about that little moment where it actually zooms to Trisha, and then obviously, as you mentioned, the moment in the actual car where they're touching and the gearbox. It's little subtle moments, and the way they do the capture little body changes changes in posture and stuff like that to
I think
just show this character's changed.
I think the cinematography as well, both of you have mentioned it about the gear stick moment, but I felt throughout it, I picked up on it, and I had to ask you for reassurance because I wasn't sure if I was seeing things or not, because I felt the director, the cinematographer, there was points where the contact between these both characters, they just missed each other, with a hand going down and a hand moving away type of thing. And also there's a lot of still shots that I liked as well, just that veranda scene when they were in the flat, it showed you the whole building, and it was only their veranda that was lit up, and every other one was just inactive things, little things like I appreciate, a lot of
walking
thought
down
goes
the
into
street
that.
Together, unbelievable shot.
Down the white line, that was
right
a
down
great
the middle.
shot,
I thought that was incredible. And then also the shot of them hugging as the airport windows are behind them, and her sort of covering up his face, his eyes, so she can walk away and he doesn't see her.
Mahendran, Jayaraju and N. Shanmuga Sundram. But another trivia fact is that C. Prem Kumar was a cinematographer before he became a director.
Was he?
He only directed. That's his. He started out as he's a cameraman and a cinematographer for a lot of other Vijay Sethupathi movies as well, and that's how he started. And I think he only agreed to. He was satisfied to just write this movie and give it to another director to direct, but he ended up directing it because Vijay Sethupathi said he should do it.
There you go, man. That's about leveling people up. Spoke about that before with Telepathy, giving young directors a chance. Beast, I think, is a new director, or fairly up and coming, and that's a great sign that these people are fully rounded human beings. They're not just about themselves. They're willing to take risks to level up other people in the industry. I think that's a great thing. Overall thoughts? Have you mentioned? What was your thoughts on the score, Ruth? Did you have any thoughts? You kind of mentioned it before, didn't you? It was kind of the guy.
Yeah, I really love the singing. Both all the singers who worked on it. I love the singing. I love the music. It's so haunting, the music. It's just to me, the music was another character in the film. It was just fantastic. So well put together. It's just like it evokes, you already feel like you're gonna cry, but that's the haunting nature of the song, and the words, even the lyrics of the songs were absolutely spot on and amazing. So I like, the music was such a phenomenal experience for me. I just loved it, and it helped. I think it just like cracked me up so many times. I broke down because of the music
I can understand
in the movie.
Because that's what they do. They
couldn't hold back.
They pull on your heartstrings, man. That's what it's all about.
I think I was having a migraine by the time I finished watching the movie the first time, because I was like crying so hard.
Man, I was going through a real experience last night watching it as well after my second COVID jab, vaccination jab. I was semi-hallucinating and shivering, and not a good experience, but thankfully the movie kind of briefly lifted me out of the horror of that. But sadly, when I went to my bed, it reared its ugly head again, and hopefully that doesn't happen tonight, incidentally. Overall thoughts and rating. What is your overall thoughts? Shall I go first?
Yeah.
I'll not rate first because I want to see what you're rating, and then I will may change my mind. Overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this movie. It surprised me quite a bit. As I said before, Vijay Sethupathi is an incredible actor, incredible human being. And I knew I was getting a good performance from him. I've seen enough of this guy's movies now to understand what he produces, and he's pretty consistent with it. But it was the other cast and cast members primarily. The crew members don't really count because you're not watching them, they're behind the camera. But the other cast members, the likes of Trisha, and then I'm going to bring the names up because I will forget them again. Judy Krishnan, Adifa Bhaskar, and even the sister, Devadarshini Chaitanya, probably says it wrong. She was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
In moments, she had subtle little moments in this movie, but she was almost like a mother.
Yeah, both versions, John, the old and younger versions. I felt the characteristics, both actors nailed it.
It was Nifaya Kadambi who played the younger one, and then also I spoke about Bagafafi, I can't speak, Puramal, who played Berlin in Super Deluxe. I thought he was good. So it was just the combination of those. Maybe, I don't want to say superfluous because that's the wrong word, but those sort of other characters, they really made this the watch that it was. I says it time and again, the only really average to below average movie I've seen from Telepathy was Sarkar, and it wasn't to do with Telepathy, it was to do with the fact there wasn't a good enough supporting cast around the guy. And even the best actors in the world, the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio and stuff like that, and even I'll mention the likes of Telepathy and Danush, we've seen that in Jagami Phantom. They need help to make the movie compelling. Their performance alone can't cover over poor performances around them are completely non-existent performances. So it was that aspect of this movie that really did elevate it for me. Just a really strong ensemble performance from the entire movie, but with Vijay Sethupathi just being, what word would I use for it? Absolutely sublime. I actually says that word last night during my show. I stopped to speak about this movie and obviously try and promote the actual review tonight, and I says it was sublime, and it was primarily down to Vijay Sethupathi. So I really enjoyed this movie. That's what I'm saying. I've been off on a rant there, off on a tangent. Really enjoyed this movie. It surprised me quite a bit. Not a huge romance fan. I do watch them from time to time. I've got a sweet spot for Sense and Sensibility because it had the great Alan Rickman. It did have Alan Rickman, didn't it? He played a sort of sergeant or something like that in it. But this one was, I don't think I'm being too hyperbolic, to use a big fancy word, when I say that I think it's one of the best romantic movies I've ever seen. I actually think it's better than most Western, like Notebook and stuff like that I've seen over here. So I enjoyed it a lot. What was your thoughts, Ruth, man? We'll let Stephen in last and he can share his thoughts, and then we'll get to the rating. You may have froze, Ruth. I don't know if you can hear us. We're getting some gremlins and deconnections.
We keep. Yeah. So what was your rating again?
I've not rated it yet. I'll get to that. I'll get to it.
Because it went out, it cut out a bit, so I wasn't sure.
No, I've not rated it yet, man. I'm going to wait till you give your opinions and then maybe rate it, and then I'll bottle out. I'll give my thoughts on it. Well, if you get any overall thoughts in the movie, Ruth, where does it rank for you? I presume you've seen a lot of romantic Indian movies. Being a Telepathy fan,
yes, I have.
And he obviously started there.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of romantic men. There are a lot of really nice romantic movies in Indian cinema that I've really enjoyed and gone back to. But this was different in the sense that it was very haunting. And what I rate a movie based on the fact that if I hear somebody talking about the movie, just them talking.
We may have lost you again, Ruth, but I think it's your side. The fact there is
a really good film.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah, you froze briefly. It was like 2 seconds.
So for me, it's like if I hear somebody talking about a movie, and that just hearing them talk about it or somebody mentioning it or it coming up makes me want to watch it again.
Yeah.
That's and the fact that I can rewatch it a few times, and also each time I watch it, I don't lose that, that kind of usually when you watch a romantic movie, the first time you might end up crying.
Yeah.
But then the second time and the third time, it doesn't invoke tears in you anymore.
Yeah.
Because you know what's coming. But this one, each time I've watched it, I've ended up tearing up.
It's a powerful story.
And even though I know that's how I know it's a fantastic movie, because if it makes me do that each time, it feels like I'm watching it for the first time again, and I can it bottles all of those emotions. That for me is an excellent film.
And again,
and I usually wouldn't say it. So for me, that's an excellent film.
Yeah.
So for me, if you ask me, I would probably give it an A.
I'll go there and I'll do it. 2 seconds, I'll try and get the actual mouse cursor. There you go. Ruth has given this movie an A.
Wow.
And I tell you what, she may have influenced me slightly.
Okay.
Look, before I let Stephen in, just what you touched upon there, that emotion that brings out in you watching this movie, I think that's firmly down to the underpinning of the characters, that bonding with the actual audience and the flashback sequences. I can't even think of the word because I'm actually losing the plot here with the actual COVID vaccine. I'm starting to go off a cliff again. I can't overstate the importance of those flashbacks because they really do connect you with their relationship. And then when you see them 22 years later, they're in the situation they're in. She's settled down, she's found peace, and he still is this sort of lost soul. I think that's so important to this movie and its enjoyment. Steve, what's your overall thoughts on this movie, man? I'll rate it.
Yeah, you talk about those flashbacks, and I think it's the first time we've seen in Indian cinema where they've not used the same actor in the flashbacks, and that confused the hell out of me when we watched Bahubali.
Yeah, because obviously Prabhas was playing his father. Yeah.
So I think it would be a bit jarring seeing Vijay Sethupathi in a school uniform. But Trisha did say, our character did say, Janu, she wished she had brought her school uniform to the reunion.
Felt like she was back, yeah.
Yeah. But
I wouldn't like a school reunion for my class, I tell you. Bunch of
the thing about this film for me, and it strikes all the right chords in terms of emotions, because we've all been there, we've all sampled moments in life where there's been missed opportunities. You've held back and saying things that you might have regretted later on in life, and you think back, maybe if I said something or acted in a certain way, things might have turned out differently for different things. Not just love, it could be your career, it could be just your family, stuff like that, anything, and those things come back to you when you see stories like this playing out on the big screen. The other thing as well is, I know that you two guys have mentioned that, the romantic element to me. I felt it wasn't romantic in the traditional sense. It was a realistic outlook on romantic moments in life, and not played out like a traditional
film from the 90s.
Yeah, a traditional romantic movie. And I think that's why it strikes a chord with people like me and John, are not used to watching movies like this. And that's why I enjoyed it, because I could relate to it. And I felt the performances and the cast. And I know that you mentioned it, John. It was a stellar cast performance. I don't think anyone was playing their B game. Everyone was playing their A game in this film. And I think, just seeing that journey for Vijay Sethupathiy's character Ram, for me, I don't think I've really backed a main character in any film as much as I did for this one.
Apart from Rick Dalton when he's doing in one of Charles Manson's goons.
I really did.
A flamethrower.
Yeah, I really did, wish him well. I really wanted him to have that happy ending, but I was more satisfied they got a realistic ending. Yeah. For me, this film will stay for me for a long time. It's going to be one that I'll go back to, because it does have a lot of rewatchability. And I think it's little things like you said, John, him at the very beginning, Ram, looking at the bridge, not telling us why he doesn't want to talk about it. It's little things like that throughout the story that really keep this film interesting. And I think there's just so many layers to it as well. And I think it's just all those little things, movements, looks, everything in this film, down to the detail. I think the director, for a first film, is amazing. Absolutely amazing directing in this movie. And I'm going to rate it a B+.
Try and get that to work. It's a shambles. It's not working. What's going on here? There we go.
B+.
OBS has got a sin to answer for. For me, final thing I'll say before I get to rating it is that just a powerful story about this guy who's missed out on the opportunities in life, and just the vacuum it's sort of created in his life. He's been stuck in this capsule, and I think that's why it's something that anybody can connect to, despite where they're from, gender, age. It's a connectable story, and it's all down to Vijay Sethupathi. Stephen, I nearly gave Super Deluxe an A, because it was so ambitious. I'm actually going to give this an A, and the reason I'm going to give it an A is because of Vijay Sethupathi and Trisha. Just a compelling performance, probably the best I've seen for the guy to date, and that says something, because Super Deluxe was special. And it's just really for him. You could say that other movies, looking at them as a standalone sort of affair, there'll be elements that are in A, but ultimately I mark it down. For me, that performance can't be ignored, and the sort of chemistry between them, and the fact that I've discovered that it's the first and probably the first movie that he directed, period, was it? Or first romantic movie?
First movie.
First movie.
Yeah, just first movie.
That it just kind of seals the rating for me. It's so impressive for a guy to produce something of this calibre with one movie. And also, as you says, the fact that he was actually looking to get somebody else in to direct it, but Vijay Sethupathi really pushed him to do it. I think that speaks volumes for Vijay, so it deserves an A for that alone. But look, man, that is going to round the review up. I may have to go to myself. I'm going to check and see if it's not. I'm going to have to go to myself when I end it. What's your thoughts on this movie, 96? What do you make about Vijay Sethupathi, about Trisha Krishnan, about the other cast members, Gauri Krishnan, Devardashini, Chetan, I'm butchering these names, I understand, Adifa Bakshar? What do you make about the performances, the story, the rewatchability, the overall thoughts in our review as well? You can comment below if you feel in the talkative mood and you want to share your thoughts down there. That's certainly the place for it. Seeing we've actually got comments, incidentally, I can't read them because I've got a moonlight right in front of me, and I'm already blind as a bat from this distance anyway. I'm 32, but I've got the eyesight of a 92-year-old, so not helped by the light. What is your thoughts? You can comment below. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content on this in the future, and you will get it, guys. But wait until then, and hit the follow button on Twitch as well. How could I forget? But till then, me, Stephen and Ruth are done. Thank you for joining us. Bye bye.